Well, hello, people. It's me again. I want to say thank you. First of all, I want to say thank you to everyone who sent me messages after my last online, my live feed. So I appreciate it. I really appreciate the things that you've said. Just a little bit of news. The unemployment rate that I did some online checking, and the unemployment rate in the United States is now at 40 million. Hi, Trini. And it's looking to get worse. The closures of businesses is at an all-time high, and these businesses are not coming back. So, for the safety of people, we're tanking the economy. It's not gonna come back. I think the America I grew up in is gone forever. So I just was sitting here thinking about this. You got a pastor arrested in Tampa, Florida, because he refused to abide by this this thing of no assemblies, and he was arrested. He had divided up the sections of his church to families, and each family was separated 6 feet away from another family. All the altar workers, all the ushers were all passing out hand sanitizers, and they were wearing masks, and they were wearing gloves. So he went and he did all the precautions that were necessary, and still he got arrested for violating the ordinance, the so-called this emergency ordinance, for holding church. And here's another thing. Churches are not deemed essential. To the powers that be, churches are not essential. Oh, they say that, well, you can worship in your home, but don't gather together. Well, that's a clear violation of the First Amendment rights under the Constitution, the freedom of assembly. And if I understand the constitutional rights, there is no nothing, no law can be passed, no ordinance can be given that would violate that constitutional right. Just like I have the constitutional right of free speech. So far, they've been very good with me not on Facebook, not challenging me on that. And so far, my YouTube channel, they've done the same. So far, they've allowed me pretty much freedom to say what I want to say. But in all of this, we're looking at the freedom of assembly. And if you speak against the so-called people of authority, then you're going to be labeled as a hater. You're going to be labeled as someone who wants to kill so-and-so's grandma who lives 1,000 miles away because you'd happen to disagree. I disagree with this lockdown. I really disagree with it. As you can see, I'm still outside. So anyway, I shoot myself in my own foot. I disagree with it. You can do proper things to handle this virus without shutting down the country. I mean, my goodness, 60 million people caught the swine flu, the H1N1, back 10 years ago here in the United States. 60 million caught the swine flu. Over 200,000 were hospitalized and 12,000 died. And yet they did not shut down the economy. They did not shut down your cities. They did not do anything near what we're doing. And the H1N1 so far has been, in recent years, has been the most deadliest of all flus. It was even more deadlier than MERS, and I had the MERS virus. It's more deadlier than SARS, which is actually SARS and MERS are the coronavirus. So I can say I've already caught it 3 years ago. So there was no reason to do this. We handled the economy and the people moved and they still went to work during H1N1. And I can't, for the life of me, give a reason why we would want to do that now. Why would governments, both local, county, state, and federal, either encourage or impose martial restrictions for the sake of a bug? You know, this isn't the Black Plague. You know, this isn't the... No, I'm not sick. Anyway, this isn't the Black Plague. This is not the Spanish flu. This is not H1N1. This is none of that. And yet, right now, and someone needs to look this up and get it back to me. Let's say a big box store, let's say Lowe's. What if they were to shut down? Okay, now their employees have some sick time available, maybe some added sick time for this thing, and then their vacation time. Let's say at the max they have about 2 months. Now, if Lowe's shuts down and files bankruptcy, are they then liable to still pay them that extra time that they have accumulated? It's a good question to ask. Because if they don't have to, then these people are really going to hurt. We already got people hurting. At the food bank, you know, you got lines a mile long. And the food banks don't hardly have any food. So you got already people who are destitute, plus the ones that are homeless and everything else who rely on the food banks. They don't have food anymore. It's really amazing. So you're putting the economy at risk, which it will never recover from. I've seen now projections where it will probably be even worse than the Great Depression at 32%. I think the Great Depression was something at 24% unemployed. But we're now looking up to 32%. And these businesses that have been open are now going to be closing down and filing bankruptcies and never reopening again. You know, because the banking industry still continues. They're still going to continue until they are taken over, until they are nationalized. And if it still continues to close down businesses, well, guess what? Those businesses are going to become nationalized. And government is terrible about running businesses because they have no clue with how to run a business. Every country that nationalizes the businesses has failed with those businesses. So, and this is the other thing. I'm only worried about two countries in this world right now. One is the United States. That's my home country. And the other is the Philippines. Right now, the Filipinos are losing their job. Their job rates, job losses are increasing exponentially. And especially if you live in the city, you don't have much recourse. I mean, the only other way you're going to be able to get food is if you steal it, because of the shutdowns in these big cities. If you live in the province, it's a little easier. You can go out into the jungle and collect fruits and stuff like that, or in most cases in the province, every house has a little farm, so we're able to grow food and have ducks and chickens. So for meat, some of them have tilapia ponds, so they can have fish. But even as businesses in the Philippines are closing down, not everybody lives in the provinces. Most of the people, a lot of the people, I should say, have moved from the provinces and gone to the city to find work. And I'll tell you something. What they do with what they get, it's really amazing. For a Filipino, an average day's pay is about 500, or an average week's pay is, let me see, an average week's pay is about 1,500 pesos. And that's taking from top end and averaging out with the bottom. 1,500 pesos a week. You know what that comes out to? That comes out to $30 US dollars at the current exchange rate. So these people can exist on $1,500 or 1,500 pesos a week. And, they work hard. They really do. But shutting down an entire country is not going to help the problem. I'm sorry. The best course of action is to let the virus run its course. Separate out the nursing homes. They're under quarantine. Separate out daycares. Separate out hospitals. Separate out the aged. Separate out those people who are already, already sick. They got something else, that already compromises their immune systems. You can do that, but let the country work. And don't violate the civil rights of people for safety. Because you're not going to get those civil rights back. Once they determine that you yield over your civil rights to governmental control, you're not going to get them back. The freedom of assembly to go to church. Your free speech options. Already, they're trying to get rid of that. The freedom of the press. Well, the press has been taken over, basically, by a bunch of socialists. And this is what they want. They want this country to fall. They want this country to come under heavy governmental control, because that's what socialism is. The next thing, because things are going to get really bad, and watch this. This is going to happen. Because things are going to get really bad. I spoke with a friend of mine that works at the Walmart distribution center. Works at one of the Walmart distribution centers in Texas. And I sent him an email, and I said, so how are things going over there, bro? And he said, well, as far as he's concerned, things are fine. They have plenty of food and plenty of paper products in their distribution center. They're not out of anything. It's just that they're not sending it like they should. They're sending it piecemeal, so you can wait in line like good little beggars for your food or for your paper products. You know, it's the food is there. The products are there. They're in their distribution centers. And, you know, these are big buildings. I don't know if you've ever been to one, but they're huge. And they have the stuff there. They have the stuff there. It's heartbreaking, because they have the ability to send trucks to every Walmart in their district that they send to. They have the ability to send them out 3 times a day. And what I've heard is that they cannot, or they are not allowing people to have some of these basic things to keep you wanting, to keep you coming back. Maybe you'll buy something different. Maybe in your misery, you're going to buy a television. Oh my God. You know what? Let's buy a television. We can't buy food, so we're going to buy a television, and we're going to be in our misery watching this television. You can't go fishing because now you're on lockdown over there, isn't it right? The one state I never thought would bow down to any thought of governmental shutdowns and lockdowns has done it. And Texas, I'm sorry, I like you, Greg Abbott, but you know what? You drank the Kool-Aid on this one. You know, Texans are because I am a Texan, Texans are very independent people. We don't like being told what to do. We don't like being told, you know, you have to drink this, or you have to eat this, or, you know, this is how many pieces of your toilet paper that you have to use. We don't like that, because we're Texans. We do things our way, and we do things how we want, as long as it doesn't affect someone else's civil liberties. So here's what's coming next. Because of these lockdowns, and there's going to be shortages of food, people are not going to have anything to eat. There's going to be, unrest. There's going to be unrest. Look for if you have weapons, look for them to be confiscated. So there goes your Second Amendment rights. And how are they going to know, how are people going to know that you have weapons other than going through the National Registry? Is you're going to have spies. Probably some spy will get an extra ration of food if he turns in someone that has, a hunting rifle. Well, guess what? They have to do that. They're going to have to do that because when the civil unrest starts, they need to disarm the people. And they can do that with boots on the ground, and most likely it will be SWAT officers come storming into your homes. That's the next thing. There's a lot that I'm seeing, and I'm not an alarmist, but I've always wondered, how is the one world government going to be created? What are they going to do it? You know, the Bible doesn't say that the Antichrist is the one who creates the one world government. It could exist long before he shows up. He just takes it over. So, how would you do that? Well, one way would be a forced a war, for example. Let's say we all know that there's a UN mandate called Agenda 2020, and that is to bring the world under one government by 2020. But the UN has no teeth. You know, they cannot force a sovereign nation to do anything. You know, they don't have the teeth, the muscle, the power to do that. So how then can you do that? Well, you start something that will cause the people to give up their liberties, where governments will turn over their sovereignty to a collective board that's not elected, that is not, they have not gone and people voted them in, but to a collective board who knows best. So you want to put something out there that is going to cause people to want to give up their liberties in the idea of safety. Oh, keep us safe. Keep us safe. You know, they've been doing that they've been doing that now for a long time. It's more than 40 years. You know, well, for the safety of your children, you shouldn't let them go out to the parks and play. Okay? So now you got kids outside in the parks by themselves playing like we did when we were kids. Well, guess what? For safety, that parent is now going to be fined or go to jail, or child negligence, and maybe even child abuse. I don't know. For safety. For safety. We're gonna do this here to keep you safe. Like being rolled up in a warm blanket on a cold winter day. For safety. So this is what they would do. They would do something to cause. They would do something to cause the people to run to the government and demand that the government keep them safe. I mean, the government, the only purpose of the government is to provide defense of the nation. That's really basically all it is. It's to provide defense of the nation from a terroristic attack or from a foreign entity, both, you know, or domestic. For foreign and domestic. You know, and there are, you know, cases where we've had to do that. You know, World War I, World War II, when someone comes in and tries to deprive you or your neighboring country of their liberties simply because they want that country. That country has something they want. This is how you get people to just give up everything, their liberties, their freedoms, for the sake of safety. And then you're not really safe, because now the government has all the power. They've taken away your guns. They've taken away your ability to have free speech. They've taken away your ability to assemble. That's what this whole thing about this 6 meter thing is, that, well, you got to stay at least 1 meter or 2 meters away, from somebody. Well, that's nonsense. That's what it is. I don't know what happened. It just suddenly turned off. I guess Facebook didn't like what I was saying. The whole idea of separating out people and forbidding the assembling of others is to keep people from sharing ideas. Like, wait a minute, my First Amendment rights are at stake here. Don't you think so? And you explain it out, point. That's all that is for, is to keep you from getting together and discussing it. And maybe go to your government and say, hey, let's stop this nonsense. That's the only reason. Keep you apart so you can't talk to each other. In the meanwhile, abortion clinics seems like abortion clinics are considered essential. And churches are not. That's why you can't go to church. But yet you can go have an abortion clinic open. And how is it, and I heard it today, how is a doctor going to be 6 meters away, or the abortion is going to be 6 meters away from the person who is getting the abortion and still perform the abortion? This is insane. This world has gone insane. So why on God's green earth are people coming up with ideas like this? No, it blows my mind. Makes me want to scream. My voice is already taxed enough, so. What other? Well, that's about it. But, right now, you are under attack. I am under attack. Just as being a person, I'm under attack. So, the thing is I thought at first this was just a test for the one world government. And I'm now beginning to think, no, this is the actual thing. You scare the people to give up their freedoms and their liberties. You know what? The Chinese have no freedoms and liberties already. They're fine with it. Because for 100 years, almost 100 years, 75 years, they've been under hard communist rule. I mean, a communist government that kills 60 million in the onset, who will put you in re-education camps, just for not believing or disagreeing with the party line. My God, you must be insane if you actually disagree with what the government is telling you. The Constitution of the United States was put in place to keep the government from becoming a tyranny, where the government has total and absolute control over your life. That's what the Constitution is for. And people don't realize, because they're so afraid, they hear all of these emotional appeals You know what, you want to kill grandma 1,000 miles away because you want to go see a movie. Really? It's nuts. It's absolutely nuts that people actually fall for this stuff. So this is the creation of the one world government. This is the aligning of the nations, the subjection of the people to go along with it. And those that will not go along with it, well, guess what? They're going to get rid of the undesirables. And those undesirables, I know in the United States you have, what, thousands upon thousands of FEMA camps. Well, guess why they were built? They weren't built for disasters. They were built to hold people. And that's what's coming. After the guns, the rounding up. They're going to round up the undesirables, your homeless, your clinically insane, or your Christians. Because by God, they're not going to toe the party line. Why? Because we have a king. We have a king. And that is where our politics lie. We have a king. And his name is Jesus Christ. We have a city and a country already waiting for us. We have a city that is made without hands, which is our bodies. This is Christ in you, the hope of glory. We are the ambassadors of Jesus Christ. That's all, and they hate it. They hate it. That's why they're closing down the churches. They hate the idea of Jesus Christ because there is true liberty in Jesus Christ. But again, I want to thank everybody for all your support you gave me on my live last night, yesterday. It really helped. We got to take this time now because it's going to become a time when we're not going to be able to. We got to take the time now to actively evangelize. Now is the time. People are scared. They're frightened to death. They've listened to the montage. They drank the Kool-Aid, and now they're scared. They're running around like Chicken Little, calling the sky is falling, the sky is falling. Or the little boy crying, woof, 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 woof. They're scared. They're scared of their own shadows. They're scared of everything. And they're ready to give up their most basic human rights for safety. And that's ludicrous. That's insanity. I don't know where else to go. We're looking at the creation of the one world government. And I don't know where it's going to be headquartered at. It could be headquartered at the UN. It could be headquartered in Brussels. It could be headquartered in China. It could be headquartered in the Middle East. I don't know. But we're beginning, right now is the beginning stage. Eleazar, I know you're watching, but you remember a few years ago, I made mention that there is I felt an evil wind, or just an evil wind in the air, like something was wrong. And I think this is what I was feeling, was this here coming. Get ready, people. Get ready. You think it's bad now with just a little virus running around. And I'm not making light of it. If you get it, you're going to get sick. Trust me, I know. I got sick with the MERS flu. And same thing, MERS flu is a coronavirus. If you think this is bad, you haven't seen anything yet. It's coming. It's coming. And we as Christians need to realize what's going on. They're segregating us out. They're not allowing us to go to church, but they're allowing abortion clinics to be open. These are the things that, little things like this. You start connecting the dots. And what we're seeing now, because of a flu virus, and the coronavirus is a flu virus, what we're seeing is a total shutdown, scare tactics, and everything else to give up your civil liberties, because the government, they're going to suddenly say, guess what? They're going to smile at you and say, guess what? We have the answer. We have the answer for you. We have, and then they're the ones that probably put it on us. It started in China at Wuhan, which was their where their bioweapons laboratory is. So, you know what? Here we have the answer. And this is what we're going to do. That's the way it always is done. They create a crisis, throw the world into chaos, and then they pull an order out of the crisis. That's how they do things. It's order out of chaos. And you're seeing now the beginnings of it. They put everything in place for years and years and years. We've kept our eyes closed because we're looking at other things. Well, it's going to be this, according to the scriptures, it's going to be this over here. But we haven't seen the little pieces being put together slowly. One here, one there, one over there, how the laws have slowly gone toward a socialist type of laws. We haven't seen, we haven't been paying attention. And we've had this thought, well, no, we're going to be gone before all this happens. I'm sorry, no. I quit believing in a pre-tribulational rapture about 8 years ago, after I started doing my own research. And I was doing research on the end days. And I was trying to put everything in a timeline and going through the Old Testament and New Testament and everything like that. But I could not put a rapture before the tribulation starts. I could not do it. I went through the usual scriptures that everybody else goes through, that I've always been taught, but I couldn't marry them up. So I think we're going to have a hard time coming. Now, I'm UPC, I know that, and I know that flies against UPC doctrine. And I'm not going to sit here and debate you over it, for my own personal views. That goes against the UPC, what the UPC stands for. Not to contend for my own personal views to the disunity of the body, until we all come to the unity of faith. So, this is my personal view. I have a feeling we're going to have it rough. And I have a feeling that there's only going to be a remnant left alive. And but what we're watching is the one world government coming into place. This is it. The whole world is in lockdown. Everybody is in lockdown. Major cities all over the world are in lockdown. You can't even walk out of your house unless you have official business to conduct. They could let this virus just run its course and it would be over. It would have been over by the end of April if they just let the virus run its course. But they're going to drag it out. The same amount of people are going to get sick. The same amount of people are going to die. And they're going to crash the economy to force you to come to the government for your handouts. Now, I never advocate violence. So don't say that Robert said, we got to fight for this and we're going to take up arms. No, that's not what I'm saying. I never say that. But we got to realize that right now, your First Amendment rights just went out the door. Your First Amendment rights. And we gave them up so willingly. Right? United States, you gave them up so willingly. The right to assemble, the right to speech, free speech, and the right of the press. That's your First Amendment. And no ordinance passed by any form of government, from the lowest form to the highest form, can infringe upon those rights. That's according to the Constitution. So your rights have just been destroyed right there. Next will be your gun rights, your Second Amendment. Third will be your property rights and the search and seizure of your property, the housing of soldiers into your house, all which are forbidden without due compensation. By the Constitution. Now, I studied the Constitution. I got an A in it. So, I think as a people, the United States people, now I cannot speak for the Philippines because this is their country. They have to deal with it with their government in their way. But in the United States, as a people, you are given these rights for a reason, to not have a tyrannical government. Some of these mayors have imposed godlike powers upon themselves with the threat at a gunpoint. Well, anyways, I'm done. Just my thoughts. God bless you all. Have a wonderful day. And consider, you're watching it, history being made. The one world government is now being formed. And every person will yield up their civil liberties, their constitutional rights to the government, and the governments will yield over their sovereignty to a world body. This is it. It's coming. And we're going to live to see it. Thank you.